Colonel Rob Campbell retired from the U.S. Army after a 27-year career as an infantry officer, ranger, and paratrooper, commanding infantry and cavalry units from platoon to brigade. He is a veteran of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and served during Hurricane Katrina relief efforts in New Orleans. Most recently, Rob established a business in Wilmington, working with local companies, and he recently became an executive coach with Performance Culture. Please join me in welcoming Rob to the stage to talk about veteran-ready businesses.
Well, good morning, Wilmington. Come on, I'm an Army colonel. I used to be important. Good morning, Wilmington. That's better. Hey, are you veteran-friendly or veteran-ready? There's a difference, and I want to talk about that this morning. But first, I got to talk about a problem that's facing our nation and our community, and that is the shrinking population of veterans and military service members, which is causing a chasm between society and its military. What does this mean? How did it happen? Why is it important? Well, after 9/11, our nation's leaders decided to send the military off to war and not the nation, as it had done in Vietnam and previous conflicts. And so society went back to life as normal. Save for some inconvenience at the airport, the military went off to war. So what? What's the big deal? Well, it's troublesome for a few reasons. It's troublesome because the military doesn't send itself off to war. Civilians do that. Our elected officials do that. They're the ones that decide to send our sons and daughters and our grandchildren off to war. It's troublesome because employers may be reluctant to hire veterans because they don't understand them. They might hire people that have followed a similar path than them. Did you know that of our nation's 325.7 million people, only 0.04% serve in the active military? That used to be 2% in Vietnam, 9% in World War II per capita. It's a shrinking population. Here's another one for you. Our lawmakers, Congress and the Senate. 1970, 70% of them had military service. Many were combat veterans. Today, it's only 18%, a shrinking population. Let me share some myths today and combat them with some facts to kind of inform where we're headed. Myths that we're all PTSD, right? These ticking time bombs that are going to come into your organizations with a wrecking ball. Or that we're narrowly skilled. We can pick up rifles, kill people, and that's little else, not much else. Or that our spouses are narrowly skilled, don't have the experience in what's required in the modern workforce. Well, the fact is that only 7% of veterans suffer from PTSD. And while that's very serious, there's a lot being done in that area, it's a small percentage. And frankly, many of them are dealing with it very effectively. The real stress comes less from the battlefield than it does the transition. When you think about the transition, or the accession, I should say, the onboarding, if you will, for somebody that joins the military, they typically do it at a very young age, when their brains are being hardwired, and they're asking themselves hard questions. Who am I? What's my cause? What's my purpose? And they find this in service. They join platoons, battalions, squadrons, and they form these bands of brothers and sisters and work together and bond together through the rigors of training and combat. Gone are politics, religion, gender, race. They're human beings together in this very, very powerful endeavor, and they form this bond that's really almost impossible for me to explain to you on the stage. What I can tell you is it's at a bond stronger than marriage vows. It's pretty incredible. And then almost in an instant, after this long onboarding and journey in the military, they're back into society, almost overnight. And they find it to be a very alien experience. They find their return to society where they find affluent, me-focused, money-focused, polarized, divided. And it's a very foreign experience to them. Rob Campbell experienced that very thing in this room. I think it was table 38 back there or so. Jack Bardo was speaking on this stage, and I'm sitting back there with my brand new Kmart suit, looking around the room saying to myself, WTF. Who are these people? It was very strange, but I am proud to say today that many of you in this audience are my friends and mentors as I navigate this next journey. That third point there, 65% likely to leave their first job after their transition in the military. Rob Campbell is in that category. My wife Leslie over at the Cloudwise table is in that category, and it happened right in this town, right in this very town. Let me introduce you to a couple of these folks so you can get to know us a little better. This is Ronnie Lynn Pepperdine. She's married since this photo, mother of a young boy, Elliot. She's an intelligence NCO, non-commissioned officer, staff sergeant in the Army. I served with her in Afghanistan in 2015, where she received a battlefield promotion to sergeant. Extremely rare, incredibly rare. She received that because of her inspirational leadership in a very dangerous time in a very dangerous area. I watched her perform. It was inspiring, absolutely inspiring what this young lady did. But I think Ronnie Lynn Pepperdine may be challenged to find a job here in Wilmington. Why? Well, her resume may not have those certifications on there like PMP or SHRMCP or CSM and the like. And I'm not knocking these certifications, they're very important. Frankly, I wish the military would do a better job at certifying veterans before they enter back into the workplace. But they may not be on her resume. She may not have the bachelor's degree that she's working towards on her resume. It would say veteran, it would talk about her occupational skill and a few other things, but it may get cast aside in the initial screening, and she may not get a chance. You want to be veteran ready, look for veteran on that application, look for veteran on that resume, and keep it in the stack. Because I promise you, if you had a conversation with Ronnie Lynn, you'd be inspired as I was. And I can think of a couple of dozen organizations in this town where she could make a huge difference, a massive difference, but she may not get through that initial cut. Military spouse, this is my wife, Leslie. She's over there at the Cloudwise table. She's the real intriguing person, by the way. Leslie, she's an Army spouse. She represents military spouses and all that they bring to the modern workplace, which I consider to be absolutely amazing. There's not words or time on this stage that, I could stand here and explain to you what incredible people these are. But let me say this, our military spouses are American national treasures. Simply that, in every sense of the word. What they do is absolutely incredible. Leslie's traveled with me around the world, raised our kids, served as an advisor for healthcare and education on military bases. I used to call her from Afghanistan on a satellite phone when we lost soldiers. She's an introvert, but she mustered the bravery to turn and help families, about 500 of them up in Alaska, far away from their own families and support network in their time of grieving, and support them. Absolutely amazing what military spouses do, and I'm just amazingly proud of who they are and what they can bring to the modern business. So, if you want to be veteran ready, military spouse on a resume, military spouse on an application. Leslie went looking for work in 2016 when we transitioned. She's a school teacher. She's got a degree in middle school education, but she's got a PhD in life, but she couldn't put that on her resume. And many schools didn't want her because she wasn't current. She'd been out of teaching for about 10 years, raising our kids while I went off to war. And so they wanted somebody more current. They missed a gold mine, in my opinion. She did get a job in a place not far from here, actually. And then I watched her come home deflated every day for a year because that organization failed to put its arms around her. She wasn't asking for much, but it failed to embrace her. When they finally realized who they had walking the halls of that organization, it was too late. Our military spouses are really cool. So, how do you attract people like this if you're a business leader out there and you want to be veteran ready? This is not it. This is boring. Don't be boring. This is the stuff that attracts us in the military, the challenge. Do you have what it takes? The few, the proud, things like that. Maybe it's something more like this. Join our cause. I promise that every organization represented in here today has a cause, but you're just not talking about it. This is our business, this is what we do, help wanted. That's boring. Mission, vision, values, that's veterans speak. You use that language, you'll attract veterans to your organization like a magnet, because that's the language we speak. Now, with this chasm comes this difference in language. right? Veterans are speaking one language, our society is speaking another. And that's a veteran problem. Rob Campbell thinks we need to do a better job on assimilating back to the greater society, and putting our veteran speak aside and speaking the language of the businesses and the world out there. Again, happened in this very room. Hey, I'm Rob Campbell. Cool, what'd you do? I was a brigade combat team in the 101st Airborne Division. Oh, cool. Is that like a fire department or something? C-suite. I heard the word C-suite for the first time in this room. What the hell is C-suite? I had to duck under one of the tables with my phone and Google that. C-suite. S-E-A suite. You work in an oceanfront room at the Blockade Runner? Differing language. We can definitely help there. So the good news is that there is help. If we've got to get over this language barrier, if you have to overcome that first obstacle of how do I even talk to a veteran or ask them or find out what they can bring to my organization, there's lots of help. They're right here in town. Back there at table 39, there's a whole bunch of them here. NC Works, Matt Suggs is here from NC Works. Mark Munger came down from Marine for Life from Camp Lejeune. Bill Kaczynski, Ray Shafaros from UNCW and Cape Fear Community College, all right here in town. Millspo Project, Elizabeth Boardman, right here in Wilmington, helping spouses get work. In fact, the chasm is already shrinking, I'm proud to say. When a business leader learned that I was taking the stage, got a hold of me and said, I want to put a military spouse to work. I've got a great job opportunity. Great. I made the connection. And guess what? It happened already. So it's moving forward. These folks can help. Did you know that North Carolina is the 4th largest state in the country with an active military population? About 112,000, just behind Virginia. Huge. About 15,000 veterans coming off the bases across our state every year. Wouldn't it be amazing to get a handful of those heroes and their spouses into our organizations? I think so. So I got 2 last points for you, and that is onboarding and then retention, keeping them. Because it's not enough just to attract them. It's really a journey that you have to take, or you're going to find yourself in that 65% category where they leave your organization. Onboarding. Sounds something like this. Hey, Jim, it's Rob, your CEO. Hey man, I am so psyched that you've joined our organization. Thank you for your service. You are going to bring amazing things to this team of ours, and we are just so thrilled to have you join us. This is going to be incredible. Ed, your sponsor, he's going to call you right after this, and he's going to get you everything you need to get you assimilated onto our team. Listen, I know you're starting a week from Monday. I want you to come in at 10:30. Take your wife out to breakfast or go drink coffee and think about the future. And then Ed's going to meet you at the door, and the whole team's going to be lined up in the hallway, and they're all going to meet you, and you're going to walk you down to your office where your computer's going to be set up, and there's a fresh plant, and there's balloons, and it's going to be a celebration. We're so motivated to have you join this team, I just can't tell you. And oh, by the way, I talked to your spouse this afternoon, and she's looking for work, and we want to help because we're all about families. Okay, don't go that crazy on them. But you get my point. If the story sounds anything like that, I think you're missing it. I really do. Onboarding is not a thing on your to-do list. It's not a task. It's a journey. It's a celebration. It's not onboarding. Really important. Last point. So, veteran ready. You want to be veteran ready? Here's your report card. If Rob Campbell's coming down to your organization to evaluate whether you're veteran ready, this is what I'm looking at right here. Going right down the list. Inclusion and belonging. Family inclusion and support. How many of your organizations have a family support and inclusion policy? If you don't, I think you're missing it. Tragedy doesn't strike just on battlefields. It can happen right here on Market Street. And when that happens, families come together and get organizations through it. Really, really important. The military doesn't look at service members alone as service members. They look at them as a family unit, because they know strong families mean strong service members and soldiers. Very, very important. Counseling and development. I was counseled, developed, mentored, coached my entire career. And my role as a commander in several organizations was to produce the next set of leaders for the Army. I took that very seriously. But I see this very little in organizations. We get so busy we just forget to do this, or it just doesn't become a priority task for us. Counseling, developing, mentoring. Here's some good news. You want to get this right? I got 2 words for you: performance culture. I've been doing this for 3 decades. It's the best process I've ever seen. It's right here in town. Yours to have. Clear career path. I knew what was ahead for me. Sure, the Army has a rigid structure and things, but you know, that future discussion, what's next? What do you got to do to get there? Clear career path, recognition and awards, accountability, clear lines of authority, like a chain of command. Look, veterans aren't looking for a military-like, environment in your organization. High and tight haircuts, marching formations, spit-shine boots. Frankly, we're happy to put a lot of that stuff into our past. I am personally excited that I can finally grow a mullet, put in a nose ring, and go work for a cool cat like Sean Olsen over at Cloudwise. That's exciting. And we also understand you don't have a large Department of Defense budget. We get that. But I submit to you, this stuff right here doesn't cost you much more than time and effort. And here's the best part. You get this right, you're going to attract a lot more than veterans. You're going to attract people of all kinds. And isn't that the point? We all live under the same flag. We're all Americans. Thank you very much.